Hi, my name is Janae Richardson, and for this time I got to do a video, and I decided to do that because you don't really get to know the people in your online class, so this is a bit different and cool. For time purposes, I'm just not going to say the question, I'll say like question one instead of like reading the whole question aloud. So, question one. Uh, I thought the LibriVox project was really interesting. You don't really see people trying to save these pieces from the public domain or trying to bring them into relevance, and it feels like the natural progression of what libraries are. Like, even though this started in 2005 when the internet wasn't like super omnipresent, now it is. And so having this idea of keeping those stories alive and keeping them in an accessible format for the new world, especially when a lot of libraries are facing budget cuts or being taken away, is really cool. So it feels like sort of the natural progression of libraries. Question two. So I listened to a piece of mystery fiction called The Lost Duchess by Anonymous, already in a mystery. It was edited by Julian Hawthorne, recorded by Jonathan Trentenberg. It was really cool. I found it by just searching short story and then clicking on mysteries. And then from there, I jumped to like the second volume of mystery stories, and the title sort of was intriguing to me. And I sort of like historical fiction, so I decided, this would be something that'd be really cool. Yeah. Question three. I thought the presentation was really interesting, but you have the problems of not being able to follow sometimes, of needing to go back and re-listen to parts because you can't hear what a person is saying, things like that. But it was really cool. The person I had reading it was doing different voices. He tried to, make it really interesting and put in a lot of inflection. I already also listen to podcasts a lot when I'm doing other tasks, so the idea of like using audiobooks instead of podcasts makes sense to me as well, and would be something I'd probably use these for. Four, I think this would be a really great benefit to young people because you always have, you see a lot of students having a lot of things going on in their headphones, so this would be like another way to get them to read without having them like physically reading. It'd be great for disadvantaged communities who are maybe don't have access to libraries anymore, or but may still have access to like internet at their school or things like that, and can download these stories to listen to later. And those with long commutes, having a long commute is the worst. Having something to listen to makes it a little better. All right. Question five. I think a way this could help a fiction class like ours is it's a different way of addressing fiction and allows everyone to be able to read their own story and something that they find interesting. But it does take some of the interpretation that everyone can bring to the same story out of it, because if you're listening to something, someone is making all of those decisions for you. You don't get a chance to decide how a person sounds or different pieces of the story that I think influence people's interpretation of it. I think it'd be really good use, though, for if you were going to add this novel to add to the reading list, would be something that uses a novel that has foreshadowing in it, so you have to like go back and listen to it again to like get the foreshadowing. And then, or a monologue type style where it's just a person like on themselves, by themselves, like with a little like dialogue and interaction with other people, and in the first person, so it's just them sort of talking to themselves and having that, and listening to someone interpret that would be interesting. Question six. So a quick summary of my story, The Lost Duchess, is that a duke is told by his servants that his wife, the Duchess, has disappeared out of her carriage mysteriously, and at the same time a letter arrives, and the letter tells the Duke, your Duchess has been kidnapped, it contains a lock of her hair, and gives instructions for a payoff. And he's not totally sure that this is like true until another letter arrives with her handwriting and a sample of her perfume in it as well, and it convinces him, and so he runs off to the bank to get the money. Leaving the bank with the money, he runs into his cousin, and his cousin tries to say, I'm not sure this is real, but after having seen his wife in a carriage with a man, so he thinks, oh, maybe this isn't true, maybe they're trying to extort you, maybe she has like a secret lover, things like that. He doesn't believe it, goes to the payoff. When the person comes to take the money at the payoff site, the person who walks up is this young, charismatic gentleman. He acts like a true gentleman, talks like a gentleman, dresses like a gentleman, and even so that the other two men who are of noble standing are like, wow, this guy is like on our level and maybe a little above. And this kind of agitates the Duke, who just wants to know that like his wife is going to come back, as the man kind of toys with him a little bit. Eventually, though, he completes the payoff, goes back and goes home, realizes that he's been tricked because his wife got into that carriage thinking that he had been hurt somehow. I don't think the allegory of the cave really applies here, but I think mostly what it just shows in terms of like the message, which is question 6 and 7, is that the power of emotion to overwrite our reasoning. When it comes to people we love, we do irrational thoughts, and sometimes it's helpful to take a step back or listen to other people who are trying to help us, even if we think, oh, you can't understand what I'm going through. Listening to them and listening to the perspective other people brings can be really insightful and can help us a lot in our own lives. So those are my answers, and thanks for watching.